So, poverty causes crime revisited? Coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Conversations Like Your Reason. And as always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. Greatly appreciate it. So, from time to time, I like to revisit examples of race hustle rhetoric that I've used in the past, that I've talked about in the past. And the reason why is because they still present and they still existent, and we still hear them from race hustlers and black people who use them as examples. Now, poverty causes crime basically is an excuse to justify the mass crime committed by black people. You know, anytime people say that, well, black folks are committing mass crime, one of the excuses that they'll say is that, well, it's poverty causing crime. You know, the white man is keeping black folks impoverished, and these people are impoverished, and they got to commit crime to be able to get money to support themselves. Obviously, that's insanity and nonsense, because, well, who are they robbing? If everybody in the community is impoverished, you're robbing broke people who don't have anything, really? And if you're going to rob the businesses in your area, discouraging people, basically discouraging other businesses to come in your area and making those people leave, you're just making the situation worse. But anyway, the truth of the matter is there's absolute zero evidence that poverty causes crime. There is no evidence to show either. There's no evidence to show that poverty causes crime. There's no evidence to show that crime causes poverty. So this is more of an assumption. They assume that poverty causes crime. And why they assume it this way? Well, because it supports the race narrative. Again, if you can say that poverty causes crime, and you cry that the white man is keeping black folks impoverished because of systemic racism, well, then you can say that this poverty is racism and it supports the race narrative. But if you say that crime causes poverty, then the onus is put on black people. The responsibility is put on black people, because then you can say that it's black people committing crime that's causing the poverty. So they don't want responsibility. They don't want onus on black people. They want to cry about the white man. But like I said, there's no evidence to prove this. This is not factual. This is something that black people say, and it's just made up, like most of the stuff. Anyway, so what do I believe is the cause for both poverty and crime, if neither one of them are the cause of each other? Well, it's the ghetto mentality. Of course, I've talked about the ghetto mentality before. I've made videos on it, and pretty much a ghetto mentality is just it's a childlike mentality that puts a heavy fixation on quick gratification, living for today, feeling good, with very little to no emphasis on delaying gratification to have gains in the future. And as you know, rich people who are rich or who have means, these people are the ones that delay gratification and make decisions for 5, 10, 15 years out. So if you're a person that can't think past, only thinking about the weekend and can't think past the weekend, and you don't make any plans and you're all about quick gratification, well, that's what the ghetto mentality is. Now, how was the ghetto mentality created? Well, it was the Great Society that created the ghetto mentality. Back in the, I would say, mid to late 60s, L.B. Johnson put these welfare handouts out. And basically what they said is, look, black women, you can get these benefits, these helpful benefits, but you can't have a man in the house. So black women chose the government over man. Now, far too often, we look at the state of the black community, men get blamed because they'll say that, well, if men are the leaders of society, you're supposed to be the leaders, and leaders are the ones which are supposed to take responsibility. But in this case, it was the black females, the ones who chose the government over the black men. So you can't blame black men here. Plus, in order for black men to lead, they have to have people to follow, and you can't lead black women if black women refuse to follow. But anyway, the Great Society basically gave women an out. They violated one of the basic principles of the Bible that says if a man doesn't work, a man shouldn't eat. Well, the government gave black women a means of being able to eat without having to work, and they were able to do it without black men. They didn't need black men because they had the government. And as a result of this, you got a bunch of females and people clustered in the same area, all living off the government, so they don't have to take any ownership in their life. And we had a complete loss of the sense of responsibility, or personal responsibility. Right? They don't have to be responsible for their lives. And what do you get out of that? Well, see, if a person doesn't have to be responsible for their life, they're only thinking about today, living for the day. They don't have to worry about tomorrow. And this is how the ghetto mentality was created, the Great Society. Now, how exactly is the ghetto mentality responsible for poverty? Well, I already said it. Well, if you have a mentality of quick gratification, only operating based off of the here and now, would feel good, buying, you take your money and it's all into butter, very little guns. Again, the guns and butter analogy, that's a financial analogy. They buy butter, cars, clothes, jewelry. It's all about like looking good, flashy. They can't think past the weekend. All they can think is Friday and what they're going to do on the weekend. And they make very little emphasis toward delaying gratification for the future. This is how the ghetto mentality creates poverty. Now, how does the ghetto mentality cause crime? Well, I mean, the same principle. If it's a childlike mentality, well, what are children going to do? I mean, do children have the ability to negotiate? I mean, if you imagine if you have two toddlers and one toy, both of them want the toy, are they going to share? No, they're going to fight for the toy. They don't have the mental capacity to share or negotiate or say, well, look, there's one toy, two of us, one of us get the toy, and then for 30 minutes, and then the other person gets the toy, so we both have a chance. The children are not going to do that. They're just going to fight. And you need adults to quell the situation. Well, there are no adults in a black community in these hoods, so you end up with blacks killing and shooting each other. And this is how the ghetto mentality causes the high crime rates among black people. And you can see, if you do your evidence, study the statistics, you notice that these problems didn't exist amongst black people until after the Great Society. It didn't happen before that, and even in the height of slavery and in the height of segregation and Jim Crow, you didn't see any of this going on with black people. You didn't see high out-of-wedlock birth rates, high crime rates, black people killing and shooting each other like there's no tomorrow. I mean, there was a point in time in which black people, we had a higher marriage rate and a lower out-of-wedlock birth rate than basically the lowest rates in the country. Well, that's long gone. So, like I said, poverty causing crime is just more nonsense, more racist rhetoric that they use. And the reason why I call it racist rhetoric is because racists come up with this nonsense, and they speak it to the point of it just being completely, totally rhetorical. But there is absolute zero evidence that poverty causes crime. So if you ever hear anybody cry about poverty causes crime, well, now you know, and it's half the battle. And as always, y'all, until next time.